Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie Woodruff Shea. I'm an outreach specialist with the North Carolina Department of Justice, and I bring you greetings on behalf of our Attorney General, Josh Stein, whose number one priority is always protecting the people of North Carolina. Hopefully, you are staying safe during this COVID 19 environment, as well as dry on this rainy day. And I want to talk today about how to avoid scams, fraud, and identity theft. So, just a little bit of housekeeping before I really get started with my scams and fraud and ID theft presentation. Because we are dealing with the coronavirus, there are a lot of scams out there regarding coronavirus. And so, some things that I want you to watch out for and be careful about is the recovery and stimulus check scams. A lot of times, what they'll ask is for you to pay money to get your check to be processed, or they may say you need a bank account. There's a lot of things around that. Debt negotiation and settlements. A lot of times people are pressed, and so they may not be reading some of the language that's inside of these negotiation and settlements, and they may be detrimental to you. Robocalls have increased. There's also the price gouging law that is still in effect. So, especially when it comes to products and things that you're using, gas prices, all of those things, if you feel like you are being price gouged, we want you to file a complaint. Also, be wary of any miracle cures around COVID 19. We've seen a couple of things circulate about something that you can take, whether it's water or handkerchiefs. Just be really, really careful. And then be careful of phishing attempts. And basically, what that is just where you may get text messages or you may get links inside your email that ask you to click on a button to either give information. Sometimes those links can have malware. So we just want you to be careful, especially during this time where people are at home and they're using their computers a lot more. So today, there's three things that I simply want to do. I want to raise your awareness. I want to give you some simple tips on how you can keep yourself safe during this pandemic. And then if you feel like you've been a victim of a scam, how you can get some help. So I always like to start with a pop quiz. So latest research by the FTC or the Federal Trade Commission reveals consumers lost more than how much due to fraud last year. Guess, guess, guess. You won't believe it. $1.9 billion. Here's some other interesting facts with that came from Consumer Sentinel Work Network. If you look at this, a lot of times we think that our elderly people are the ones who are being scammed more often, but actually it is becoming our young adults between ages 20 to 29. 43% are the ones that actually reported being scammed. However, as you move up in age, you can see that you lose more money. So if you're between the ages of 70 to 79, people on average lost 750, or if you're 80 plus, $1,700. Here's some of the consumer reports that came out in North Carolina for last year. Just some of the scams. So we had home furnishing, telecommunication, landlord tenant, cable TV and satellite, healthcare, home repair, elder fraud, motor vehicles, lenders and credits, and telemarketing. Other types of scams can include sweetheart, sweepstakes, grandparent, government grant, Nigerian, IRS, inheritance, mystery shopper, jury duty, advance fee loan, utility, and kidnapping. So, a lot of ways that people can part with your money, right? So, how do they get to you? What are some ways that scammers contact or communicate with you? So, they can contact you by phone, by mail, using their computer, door to door, social media, smartphones, devices, anything that has internet access, you can be contacted. And things you need to know. Scammers are really going to be good at what they do. They're going to be very friendly. They're going to lie and manipulate the truth. And a lot of times they will use worthy causes. It could be like a cancer society or a fire department You have to be really careful about the people that approach you for these causes. Can you tell me why you think older adults are targeted? So, a lot of times it might be loneliness that's involved in it. It could be um, just someone who doesn't want to be mean and just want to be nice and talk to you. It could be that the assumption that you have a lot of money. You've worked all your life and now you have money in the bank. Uh, I don't know if you ever heard of the term reloading, but that is when a victim falls for a scam more than one time. That's called reloading. So that means that person is hit multiple times. And you're 6 to 7 times more likely to fall again for a scam if you've done it the first time. Scams can be short term or long term, and it can be very difficult to get your money back once you've sent it to a scammer. So a short-term scam could look like just one-time charitable giving. A long-term scam can look like an investment property or a timeshare. Which brings me to tip number one, sign up for alerts. If you go to ncdoj.gov and says, I want to, it'll say sign up for the newsletter. We will send out a monthly newsletter to keep you abreast of all the things that are happening and scams that you should be aware of. Let's move to computer scams. Why does frauds choose the internet? Number one, the access. They have access to billions of people. Anybody who has internet access that they can connect with gives them the opportunity to scam. A lot of times it's no cost to set up a website. The speed of distribution is very quick. It's a lot of times anonymous. They don't necessarily have to set up a site and tell you who they are. And there's very few restrictions online because it is so vast. Computer scams. So I don't know if you've ever heard of the sweetheart scam, but that is when someone comes and they're Prince Charming and they're your knight in shining armor. And maybe you just are a recent widow or went through a bad breakup or divorce. And they're going to be the person there that's just going to be lovey-dovey. They're going to want to communicate with you. And then they're going to go, babe, I'm having such a great time. Can you send me some money? I would love to come visit you, but I don't have quite enough. Or it could be, hey, I need money for a phone bill so I can continue to communicate with you. So anytime a relationship is built online and they ask for money, that is a red flag. Um, the Nigerian scam, a lot of times that'll come through your email and it'll say, hey, my family left an inheritance in America. We don't have access to it. We got the check. It was sent here. Can you deposit this check for us and send money back? Right? Well, what are they going to do when you put or you cash that check? What are they getting access to? Your account. And when they get access to your account, they're going to wipe it clean. I don't know if you ever heard of the Windows IT technician scam. That could actually happen on the phone, or it could come up on your computer and it'll go bump, bump, bump. Your computer has a virus, right? Please contact this number below. Well, that customer support number that you're actually dialing could be the scammer. You also have phishing, which we discussed earlier, and the CEO email. And that's when someone actually infiltrates a place where you work and they send emails, normally with financial information attached to it, as if it's coming from a superior or for somebody who's above your I don't know what I want to call it, your position. There we go. And so be careful about those. Here's some helpful hints. I want you to change your passwords often. I need you to use a separate password for every financial account. Why should we do that? Because when they get one, they can have them all. I want you to keep your operating systems with virus protection and malware up to date, and also consider taking classes at your local community college. Let's move into phone scams. So have you heard of the grandparent scam? This is where you get a phone call from your so-called grandchild, right? Grandma, Grandpa, I'm in trouble. I'm in jail. I'm in another country. I'm caught up in customs. I had a car accident. and I need this money right away. So there's always going to be three things. There's going to be secrecy involved. We don't want you to tell anybody else. This is just between you and I. There's going to be something terrible that happened to them, like what I mentioned before, car accident, they're in jail, something went wrong. And then the last thing is going to be money. When you hear those three things that are involved, be very leery of it. Jury duty scams is where you get a call from your local sheriff saying that you missed jury duty and now there's a warrant out for your arrest. Well, if you are beyond the age of 72, you have served your years of service. Um, and if you get that phone call, we always say just hang up. The IRS Treasury scam, that's a huge one. And that happens right around tax season. And so they'll say, hey, they'll call you and say, this is the IRS. You missed a payment or you didn't pay enough. And now we're going to garnish your wages. And what tactic are they using? Fear, right? Fear, and they want to scare you into doing those things. And then also you can get something about your social security where they may say, hey, I need you to verify your social security number for, it might be for your Medicare or for um, uh, your medical bills. And that's really just a way for them to get that number because when they get it, then they'll use it. Which brings me to tip number two, hang up the phone. We do not want you to talk to them because the more you talk to them, guess what? The more information you're going to give. And then the worst part about it, after you give that information, they're going to pass it on. And that's why your robocalls increase. So if they get a live person on the phone, they're going to call and say, hey, I'm going to sell that number, your number to everybody else because we know somebody's going to pick up. How many of you are registered for the do not call list, which brings me to tip number three? And I know what you're saying, it doesn't work, right? So, what we are doing now, we are actively trying to pass legislation to make people or make our service providers accountable for screening out a lot of those robocalls. So, like me, I have a Google phone. My Google phone will say it's a suspected spam caller, and it gives me the opportunity to say whether I want to answer it or not. So we are moving in that direction. And if you register for the do not call list and you have not done it in the last 4 years, your name falls off that registry. So make sure that you sign back up. Okay. Moving to mail scams. You have your sweepstakes, you have your fake lotteries, you have your extended car warranties, and your vacation and travel offers. So our biggest sweepstakes is our Publishers Clearinghouse. You have to be very careful with that. That is a slippery slope because they're using a lottery system to say whether or not you're going to win. And somebody can easily be taken advantage of if there's somebody that's a representative from Publishers Clearinghouse saying, you're so close. Your name is going in here X amount of times for buying these products. Another big one is the extended car warranties. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I have gotten extended car warranties for vehicles I no longer owned or were in my possession. And so, what we say is a lot of times be very leery of these extended car warranties because they don't cover a lot of the necessary um, things that may happen to your car. That could be very detrimental, like your transmission may go out, or you may need a new engine and it may not cover that in those terms and conditions. And then our biggest vacation and travel offer is normally what? A cruise, right? 6 nights, 7 days. We just want you to get here. And what do they want you to attend? A small presentation, right? And we know what they will do is they'll get in there and they'll paint these pretty pictures of how they're going to save money. And a lot of times they end up not telling you about a lot of the hidden fees within those contracts that you're signing. And so we say be very careful with those as well. Here's some things to remember when it comes to mail scams. You cannot win if you did not enter. And in the state of North Carolina, you never have to pay if you do win. And do not agree to deposit a check and send money back from your account because they're going to wipe it clean. The scammers will. Last thing, or type of scam is your door to door. So you have paving scams, roofing scams, alarm, and vacuum sale scams. So paving scams is usually one that runs inside of a neighborhood. So you'll have somebody knock on your door. Hey, I just did Bill or Bob's house doors down. I see a couple of cracks in your driveway. I can fix it, right? And so a lot of times there's going to be two things that happen. They're going to say we can do it right away, and they'll want most, if not all, of their money paid up front. Those are both telltale signs that something may be wrong. Roofing scams. When does that normally happen? After a storm, right? And so be careful with roofing scams. Alarm cells, vacuum cells. Anytime somebody comes to your house to try to sell you something or to try to give you a product, and they're using high pressure sales tactics, if you don't do it right away, this is not gonna. This deal is gonna be gone. We always say be very leery of those kind of things. When it comes to door-to-door scams, things you should know, most of the time it's going to be seasonal. You never let a stranger into your home. Why do we not do that anymore? Because a lot of times they're going to be what? Watching and scoping out what's inside of your house. And then also, we encourage you to shop at a local business. So if something does go wrong, you can find them, right? Now we're going to move into identity theft. What is ID theft or identity theft? It is when someone uses your personal information for personal or financial gain. What you should know about ID theft is that anybody can be a victim regardless of age, right? Regardless of what race you are, how old you are, it does not matter. It can happen online or offline, and thieves are always looking for any opportunity to steal your information. And a lot of times they could have long-term effects. So what I would say about this, if we were face to face, I would say, how many of you have these things in your possession right now? And I would get you to raise your hand if you had one, two, three, four, five, right? What we always say is if something happened, let's say you left your purse or your wallet somewhere, and they had all this information inside of it, they basically have your life. And so what we always say is to protect all these things. Protect your social security. Do not take 4 or 5 credit cards when you're going out. Um, do not write your checking account information on a sheet of paper inside your wallet. Um, Now we're moving away from having our social security card on our social security number on our medical cards. But if you still have that, that's why we say always keep that in a safe and secure place. And your checkbook, because your checkbook has your account information as well. And it has your address of where you live, which is even more dangerous. Which brings me to tip number 5, get a yearly credit report. I hope everybody is using this free service. Even right now with COVID-19 going on, now people have access to check um, their credit scores more frequently without being penalized. So please take advantage of that. What are our 3 credit bureaus? We have what? TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. We always say check all 3 of those to make sure that they're consistent and that they're correct. And the last thing I want to talk about is getting a security freeze. So let's say something terrible did happen and somebody got access to all your information. They cannot open any new lines of credit in your name when you get a security freeze. This security freeze is password protected, or and they will give you a PIN, right? So if you want to use it, what we say is unfreeze it because it will actually lock you out of it as well. But it keeps scammers from being able to open new lines of credit in your name. So please take advantage of this security freeze, which is also another free service. So if you heard anything today and you were like, you know what, I think I've been a victim of a scam. There's 3 ways you can file a complaint with the North Carolina Department of Justice. Number 1, you can contact us online, you can mail us in something, or you can contact us by phone. We also, this is what our website looks like. If you go to ncdoj.gov, at the very top, you'll see it says file a consumer complaint. It's just that easy. Click right there and it will help you walk through those steps. And like I said, this is our mailing address. We have a service center at 9001 in Raleigh, North Carolina, 27699. And then you can call us by phone, which is toll free at 18775 no scam. Thank you so much for your time. I hope I didn't bore you. Again, my name is Natalie Wood with the North Carolina Department of Justice. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.